Hello and thank you for watching. I'm Jennifer Bowman with Olympia Piano, and this video will be a tutorial for a dozen a day. And this tutorial will cover chapter 2 or group 2. So it's 12 exercises. The way this video will work is I'll go through each exercise one at a time. Let's start with exercise 1, deep breathing. There are a lot of concepts packed into this 8-measure exercise. First, take a look at the key signature. See this sharp here at the beginning of the piece tells us that this F is going to be sharped for the whole piece. So in this case, we start with a G major chord and we end with a G major chord. So this piece is going to be in G major. Second concept is this is a 1, 4, 5, 7, 1 chord progression. So getting used to common chord progressions that occur in music, and this is a very common one. The 1 chord based on the first note of the scale, 4 chord, 4th note of the scale, and 5, 7 chord based on the 5th note of the chord. 5, 7 because I'm adding another note that is a 7th above the root of that chord. However, she doesn't do these chord progressions in root position like this, hopping all around. What she incorporates is something that's also incorporated a lot in music is close positions of those chords. So we start in root position 1, then instead of hopping up here, we're going to just stay kind of close and keep that G where it is because it's in both of those harmonies. Then 5, 7, also an inversion. You can always tell a 7th inversion because it'll have a 2nd in there, and then back to 1. And then this piece features the pedal, allowing the hands to move all over the piano. When I teach this piece, put down the pedal, and then you're gonna play, move, and so forth. So you're not just holding your hand down and then moving at the last second. You wanna work together with your foot on the pedal and allow it to help you move to the next position. I'm gonna show you a side view of the pedal. Okay, so here's the quick pedal lesson. By the way, it can take years to develop your pedaling, so just keep working on this. So basically what you're going to want to do is we've got this harmony, you open the pedal, we have the harmony, and we're switching harmonies. And so what happens is the hand goes down, the foot goes up. I'm going to do it in slow motion. So hand down, it's like a release button for the foot, and then the foot goes back down. But instead it's going to be pretty fast. So I tell my students it feels like a hiccup. So we get our hands ready, hiccup, hiccup. You want to keep your heel on the floor for the pedaling, and you're kind of grabbing the pedal with this part of your foot, like right here. In terms of the hand position in this exercise, it will be firm bridge right here, and firm first knuckle. It'll be played on the full finger pad portion. We're gonna have a lot of rolling up in this. And as you roll up, rather than going like this, up, over, you're gonna have a gentle arc to the next position. So it's gonna feel like a little bit of a rainbow, but not a super high arc. All right, here's the complete playthrough of deep breathing. Here we go. So we're gonna open the pedal, press it down, play, move, gentle roll-ups, then move down, fast, hand down, foot up. That's your 4 chord. Hand down, foot up, then back down. Back down. Exercise 2, brushing teeth. Again, lots of great concepts in this short piece. Again, key signature with F sharp, telling us that in this case, again, we're in the key of G major. And concept number 2, 8th notes and 8th rest. So that little rest right there is an 8th rest. So it's going to have the same duration as an 8th note. And this piece can look a little bit confusing when you first look at it. There's lots of ways to count 8th notes and 8th rest. I like to either do tiki, tiki, tiki for 8th notes, or 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. So just know that no matter how you count this, 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and, or tiki, 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 tiki. Their hands are just taking turns. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or 4. Tiki, 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 tiki. You don't want to hold on to the notes and overlap them. You just want to have it kind of be smooth between the notes. And also with regards to rhythm, make sure that when you're in measure 2 here, this half note actually equals 4 eighth notes. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, or tiki tiki ta. Again, this piece has some harmonic structure. We have the G harmony, measures 1 and 2, so our 1 chord harmony. Then measures 3 and 4, we move up to the 4 chord, C chord, then back to 1, 4, and 1. I like to say the 1 harmony is the bottom row of teeth, bottom row. Then you do your top teeth, and so forth. Just 2 positions here. Finally, this exercise practices having the hands on top of each other. The left hand is going to be playing white keys. The right hand is going to be playing black keys. You will encounter this stuff in music often, so it's good to kind of get used to how do the hands feel when we're going to be playing one hand white and one hand black. So they're almost piggybacking on top of each other. You're just going to use fingers 2 and 4. Then we don't have to worry about being in close enough for the thumb and pinky because those are our shorter fingers. So the left hand can kind of be in the middle of the keyboard like this. Thumb doesn't even have to be up there. Then the right hand is going to be played on the tips for this one, but find your grip point on the blacks because the blacks are a little bit slippery. So find it right here. It's going to be, it's like the notes are squeezing in. The left hand's playing the outside and then the right hand's playing squeezing in. And then when you move up here, it's the same thing, down a half step from whatever the left hand's playing. So the left hand's going to feel a little bit flatter. The right hand's going to be sitting on top, higher wrist, more on the tips. Here's the side view for brushing teeth. What I want you to see is how the hands are kind of on top of each other. Left hand's down here on the white keys. Right hand is on the black keys. Wrist a little bit higher. You shouldn't really be touching. And it's okay if the thumb kind of hangs off the side there like that. Here we go. You should feel like touch, touch, touch. So let's give this a try. So try to go legato in between the hands as you pass the notes to each other, not like this and not like this. And then on the half notes, give a gentle roll up that helps keep the rhythm. And also the author has indicated that with that little line over the top, which is called a tenuto. So here we go. Right hand set on top. You're finding the grip point, so you're not going to slide off. Here we go. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and roll up, move. 1 and 2 and 3. Roll up, move. Roll up, move. 2, 3, 4. Exercise 3, the broad jump. Again, lots of concepts packed into this exercise. First thing she does, reinforcing the key of G. There's an F sharp in the key signature. And instead of using chords to reinforce the harmonic progression, in this case, she uses scales. So we have a G scale. So that's your 1 harmony. Then she moves in measure 4 to the 4 chord. And she uses an accidental, this natural here. So C scale, and then similarly in measure 6 here, adding back the F sharp and adding a C sharp, which are in your D scale, and then back to G. Next concept, these scales are working on 2 octave scale fingering. So instead of ending on the pinky, we're going to have a cross under after 3, and a cross under after 4, so then we can do the jump. So we want to get the thumb, as soon as the thumb's done playing, it's crossing under, getting ready for the next note. And here it's crossing under, getting ready for after finger 4. The jump is a small arc. It's not going to go super high. It's going to be kind of like a flat arc. The jumps are 2 octaves. Notice this 8 VA, so it's written 1 octave apart, but this 8 VA moves this note up another octave. So this distance from here to here is 2 octaves. The way you're going to play the landing is with a quick roll up of the wrist to bring out that accent. And you can keep your finger on the key, but roll up fast. By the way, left hand just reinforces that 1-4-5 harmony. 1-4-5-1 with an octave at the end. So final thing before playing through, observe the rhythm. Every single measure, except the last measure, starts with a quarter note. So you got to jump up quickly for those 2 octaves. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, move down, and 1, 2, cross, under, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, move back down, 1, left hand stretching for an octave, 2, 3, 4. When you get more confident, play it faster. 1. Exercise 4, chinning yourself. I think this is a very difficult exercise. You should spend lots of time doing this, hands separately. And this exercise focuses on finger independence. So you really want to set up with a firm hand position. I like to set up, I like to stand up into hand position. So we start under here and then we find our grip points. Here's the side view for chinning yourself. What I want you to see is how to stand up into position. So this is not too curved of a hand position. It's kind of a more flat hand position. So you start with your wrist under and then you're going to raise it up till you feel the grip point of the notes. So for the right hand, we're just going to do that for fingers 3 and 4 actually. Find until you find that grip point, and then you'll just go through and then do the exercise, so forth. 3 and 4 are not going to want to stay down for the exercise, so you really have to focus on which finger is going down. And I like to do these with roll-ups. It just helps me isolate the finger. So roll up, roll up, roll up. See if 3 and 4 want to lift, especially right there. I have a lot of flow in this one. And then 4. See my pinky going all over the place. I have some tension in my pinky. Ideally, that pinky would just be hanging out and just kind of like that. But I find it wants to go in the air. You might find that as well. And then left hand's going to have 2 different fingers. So left hand is 3 and 2. So it's the same notes that are down, but not the same fingers. So left hand is actually harder because 4 is a weaker finger. So when you do it with the left hand, see if you can just channel your attention to whichever finger is going. And depending on what your dominant hand is, mine is my right hand. The left hand, I have to think a little bit harder. So with the left hand, I go a little bit more slowly. See, 4 doesn't want to even play there. Harder to play legato with the left hand for me. And so forth. For this one, I like to just memorize it. It's the same pattern for 4 measures. And then you can look at your hands, because once you put hands together, it's even more difficult because we're holding down 2 different fingers. And then you've got to think about playing 2 different fingers. Okay, hands together, nice and slow. Here we go. Hardest moment because you have to keep those other fingers down. 1 more. 2, 3, 4. So do your best on chinning yourself. I had to record that lots of times before I got that right at the end, and I still had lots of tension and errors. So very, very valuable exercise for finger independence. Exercise 5, climbing in place. This is a great exercise also for many reasons. It will be done more with a curved hand and on the tips of the fingers with those faster notes. So first I'd like you to take a look at each line and the grouping of notes. So I recommend putting on the metronome at about 50 so you can feel how the different subdivisions relate to each other. So in the first line, we'd have 3 notes per click and so forth. Line 2, 4 notes per click. Line 3, 5 notes per click. And so forth. So when we do it all the way through, I'm going to turn that metronome back on. Concept number 2 that we have in climbing here is diatonic scale. So a diatonic scale is a group of notes that has a certain pattern of whole steps and half steps. In this case, we're dealing with major scale. This exercise is in C major, so we're just moving up with the notes of the C scale here. But let's say we did it in the key of A major. We could get really familiar with how the key of A feels, what the black keys are, and so forth. So I would recommend doing this in all 12 scales. So next we have the actual technique of this, and I will also show this with the side view. My hands are playing at a certain place on the keys. So my thumb's playing out here, and then my longer fingers are playing in here, and then once we get to the line 3, the pinky will play. So it's kind of like a little arc. You want to get used to lifting at a 45-degree angle. So play, lift, play. By lifting that way, then it allows you to come back and reset versus this scoot, lift. So in terms of rolling through the notes, the first one's going to be a down, the second one is going to be stay where you are, and then the last one is going to be the lift. So if you only have 3 notes, it's going to be down, stay, lift. If you have 4 notes, it's going to be down, stay, stay, lift. If you have 5 notes, it's going to be down, stay, 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 lift. You don't want to lift too soon, because if you lift your wrist too soon, then you're kind of pressing down. And the goal of this is to kind of roll through the fingers. Down, lift, and so forth. The left-hand shapes are going to be a little bit opposite, so we feel down, stand up, down, or float off. Then we have 4. See how these are going to play kind of at an angle like this. Play, lift, play. And then 5, the shape is more like this. So here's the side view. I'm going to do it hand separately so you can see the right and the left, and I'll do it with each rhythmic pattern. So if we have down, stay, up, move, down, stay, up, move, and so forth. The middle notes of each pattern, you're basically kind of staying straight. The first one's a down, the last one's an up. Down, stay, stay, up, move. And with the 5s, when you go to the right, you're getting ready for the next drop or down at the beginning of each group. The left hand looks a little bit different because it's ending with a thumb, not starting with a thumb. So we have down, stay, lift. Don't lift too soon. Now 4, down, stay, stay, lift. And 5 notes, feels a little straighter for the 5. This is a great one to do hand separately. Here's right hand alone. Here we go. See, as I lift, I'm allowing the thumb to reset 4 notes. Down, stay, stay, lift. And 5 notes. And now the left hand wrist is going to want to lift higher. Just resist that temptation because the thumb is a short finger. Here we go. Stay, lift, stay, lift. And 4. Five notes. Stay, lift, stay. Really on the tips. Feel how the hands move together. Here we go. roll to the right. 4 notes. 5 notes. 6, the splits. Great exercise for finger independence and diatonic scales. Again, I would recommend transposing this to all 12 keys so you really get an idea of how every single key feels. This exercise is demonstrated in the key of C, 2-octave scale, so really all you're thinking about is the finger switches. By the way, this can be a little bit confusing. You see all these fingerings? She wants you to try it 3 different ways. So way number 1 is fingers 1 and 2 only, then 1 and 3 only, 1 and 4 only, etc. Make sure to hold at the top, that fermata, before coming down. Hand position wise, again, we want the firm bridge, we want the firm first knuckle, but this will be played with a higher wrist so the thumb has plenty of room to move underneath. Splits, I just want you to see each position. So I'll just go through the right hand only so you can see the thumb crawling under. So we have 1 and 2, crawls under. Now let's do 1 and 3. Try to keep the other fingers relaxed. And 1 and 4. And so I would suggest doing this hand separately. So let's do that first with the right hand. So start with the thumb. Thumb's going to be playing out here. The other finger's going to be playing about right here. Everyone else just hanging out. Thumb's just crawling underneath and so forth. Now, if we use finger 3, all of a sudden finger 2 doesn't have anything to do. So you just want to concentrate on keeping finger 2 nice and relaxed, as well as finger 4 and 5. It's going to feel kind of more squished together when you do 1, 3. And then let me introduce 1, 4 with the left hand. Now we have 2 fingers in between that aren't doing anything. So we got to keep these 2 fingers relaxed and finger 5. Left hand's going to be the same thing. Thumb out here, finger 4 here. Nice high wrist. Let's go through this now. Fingers 1 and 2, hands together. You want to focus on mirroring the hands. So we're going to get set. Thumbs are sharing that middle C. Lift up the wrist. Here's our plane where the other finger's going to play. And we're crawling up. Other fingers just hanging out. As soon as I play the right hand, the thumb is crawling underneath to get ready for that next position. Now use this fermata to reset for the way down. Make sure your wrists are up, and here we go. Let's use finger 3 on the way down. Do this by feel if you can. Every time you're going to want to make sure your wrists aren't sinking. And then just to demonstrate, we'll do 1, 4 on the way up. This one's the hardest. Take a look at the angle of my hand. I'm not straight, I'm more kind of facing in like this. It makes it easier. And 1, 4 on the way down. Relax those other fingers. Should feel like your arms are floating. And the thumbs just crawling, crawling, crawling. And then they converge at the end. So try this in different keys. I'll just do 1 octave in the key of D to show you what I mean. So when we're out here on C, we're just at the end, but we're in D, we've got to be in here with these black keys and close to the black keys because you'll still do the 1, 2 fingering, and the hands won't be playing the black keys at the same time. You have to lift a little higher for alternate keys because of the height of the black keys. Exercise 7, O'Leary. Again, there's more than meets the eye with this piece. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is the fingering. So when you first look at this, if you aren't looking at the fingering, you just see the right hand. Oh, it's just a second inversion chord with the right hand, no problem. And then just C and E for the left hand for the whole piece except for the last measure. However, if you look at the fingering more carefully, you will see that instead of 1 on that G, it's going to be finger 3. Think, why would she make it so difficult? So in actuality, this piece is preparing for, and when I work with arpeggios, I'm really working on the thumb folding under, and then this U shape of the hand turn a little bit to the side, because if we keep the hand straight like this, it's really a far jump for that thumb to go to the C. However, if we turn the hand a little bit towards the right, creating a U shape here, and we have an angle like this, that is a lot more manageable. So as you play this, you'll have this angle for the 3s, thumb's going to come under, and then we'll pivot to a straight angle. So it will be angle, straight, angle, straight. Folding that thumb under, getting this to feel very flexible. Here's the side view for O'Leary. I want you to just see how the thumb's going to fold under. We're not going to set up straight like this. We're going to be at a slight angle, and we'll have touch, touch, then thumb's going to fold under and pivot. Pivoting on that thumb. Once you're there, you're going to pivot, open out. And then the end, you've got to really stay close to the keys. This piece will also focus on articulation. So we'll have the staccati from the wrist, just quick touches together, touch, touch, and then allow the left hand to go down with the right hand on the first note of the slur, down, up. So you don't want to go down and up, then you'll be focusing too much on the left hand. So just do the down and up together, down, up, touch. So let's try this. I like to also incorporate a little bit of dynamics as I'm doing this piece. Slight crescendo through measure 4, then reset the dynamics here, maybe to mezzo piano, and then crescendo till the harmony changes to that G7 chord right here at the end. Let's give it a try. So left hand's going to be straight, right hand's going to be a little bit angled, so it'll be easier for that fold under. Here we go. Touch, touch. Lift. Third one, a little louder. Reset. 3, 4, notice the U shape. 5, 6, different pattern. Once you get that comfortable, then try it fast. Exercise 8, also a very fun exercise, appropriately named. The hands are going to be leapfrogging on top of each other. So the left hand is moving up the keyboard with quick roll up. So nice firm hand position. Roll up, roll up. Notice I'm not doing a slow roll up with the left hand, but it's almost like a check mark, a quick snap of the wrist as you play those roll throughs. Secondly, the right hand is going to be playing on black keys, and you got to be kind of far in because the thumb is part of this pattern. So find your grip point on those black keys. You're not going to be playing with flat fingers. You really got to be at the tips for that. Your hand will be angled a little bit. It won't be straight like this because of the thumb. We've got to negotiate the thumb. So that means thumb's going to be out here, finger 3 is kind of way in and here. And then we're going to have the left hand straightish underneath. The right hand's going to feel down, touch. And you don't want to be releasing too far that way. You have to just kind of lift on that because we're going to have to go from here to here. So on the way up, it's going to be touch, change direction. You're going to be kind of doing that. The right hand on the way down, we're getting this from here to here. Luckily, there's lots of rest to move, so you don't have to feel like you have to get there right away. Finally, with this hands together, like we had earlier in brushing teeth, the left hand's playing the white keys, the right hand's playing the black keys. The right hand wrist is going to be a little bit higher to give that left hand some space to move, and the left hand is going to be a little bit lower. I will show this in the side view. So when you play this hands together, as soon as your right hand is done playing, move to the next position so both hands don't have to think about moving at the same time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's leapfrog side view. I want you to see how the right hand is moving first and then the different motions involved. I'm going to go slow motion, get the right hand set, thumbs at the edge of the black keys. Here we go. 2, 3, quick roll-ups. 2, 3, 4. Moving ahead to jump the river. Also, many elements in this 8-measure piece. First of all, we've got diatonic chords. So what diatonic chords are all the chords that happen in a certain key. And so we're in the key of C. We're in the key of C major. So what you can start thinking about are what are the harmonies in any major key? They're always this order: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So no matter which key you're playing it in, it's going to be that order of harmonies. So because we're in the key of C, we're not going to have to worry about any black keys, but definitely transpose this into different keys. So next we have the left hand jumping over the right hand. So the right hand in essence is that jump rope, which is the diatonic chord, and then the left hand is the person jumping over it from side to side. We'll use finger 3 for the jumps, which is very common. 3 is the strongest finger, it's the longest finger, so in music you'll often see finger 3 notated for jumps. So 2 other things to consider with these jumping. Look at the articulation. We've got the pedal, so the staccato with the pedal is just a touch, roll up. And as you roll up, you can lift and move down. The other thing is, take a look at the music here. This is reinforcing the left hand playing from bass to treble, bass to treble. So reading the notes in the different clefs. Sometimes we get in the habit of only reading right hand for treble clef. Left hand's going back and forth. This is a 2-octave span. Low C, high C. Low D, high D. Look how they relate to each other. Then finally, we get to practice the pedal again in this piece. So as we did before, when we switch, the hand goes down, the foot goes up, down, up, down, up, down. So before you change the pedal, keep your foot down, your hand's ready to play the next note. Don't try to do it at the same time, or else you won't have that smooth. And then I like to think of this as a nice big crescendo all the way to the end. So let's start about mezzo piano, and here we go with Jump the River. So open the pedal, get third finger ready. We've got 1, touch, roll up, right hand move, right hand move, get ready. Roll up, left hand's moving down right away, so we only have to think about 1 move at a time. Getting louder. And our final one. And then keep your hands up there, it looks dramatic, and then you can lift together. Here's exercise 9, Jump the River. What I want you to see is the flatness of the arc for the left hand. We're not going way high, we're just skimming over the top of the right hand. And so forth. Okay, our next one, exercise 10, whirling. Like O'Leary and broad jump, we have to take a careful look at the fingering in this one. So you see it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2. So the tops and bottoms of each pattern are finger 1. Also, just know that this can be just kind of confusing because we've got these triplets, the 3 notes that have the same stem. The fancy 3, the bigger italic 3 goes with the rhythm. So don't get those too confused. So the fingering is going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2. This will be played on the more tips portion. This is one that's working on incorporating the thumb fold under for fingering and scales. So what we want to notice is where do the hands naturally fall on the keys, and that's what we'd like to reinforce in this exercise. So you see how 2 and 3, they're kind of in the middle of the key right there, the thumb's on the outside. So we're going to lock in where do 2 and 3 feel good, and slightly pivot and fold. So it's going to look like this. See, I'm gently moving from straight to an angle. Straight, angle. So where are the fingers on the keys? Gently negotiating that wrist. Left hand will be the opposite direction. So left hand will go to straight, start at an angle, straight. So great exercise to practice hands separately so you can really just focus on one thing, because they'll feel just slightly different when you go hands together. Right hand will start straight, left hand will start at an angle. Then they'll shift like a pendulum. It's kind of fun actually. So you want to really get used to that thumb folding. Next, take a look at the harmony. We've got the 1-5 harmony. So measures 1 and 2 in the C, measures 3 and 4, G position, back down to C, then G and C. Notice that fingering. She incorporates a transition to a different inversion of the C chord here at the end. And look at what she does with the fingering, switching from 1 then to 2 on that G, because that 2 will be where it is for the chord. Finally, final consideration for playing this one is pay attention to the rhythm. As I mentioned before, the triplets are the 3 notes joined together with that fancy 3. That means we're going to play 3/8 notes per beat instead of 2 in a normal situation. So what we must do to keep all of this relative is we must give each of these quarter notes 3 subdivisions. So what I mean by that is when we play it, we're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so I definitely recommend counting out loud. As I mentioned before, it would be a great idea to practice this one hands separately before you try it hands together, but I'm going to do it now hands together. And by the way, let's play the harmonies that start on the G just a little bit louder to reinforce 1, 5, 1 harmonic relations. So let's consider where our fingers are laying on the keys. Thumbs are going to be folding under. Hands are going to be going from angle to straight, taking turns. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Move up. 1 and a little bit louder for the G. 3, 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Move down. Start a little softer. 2 and 3 and pivot. Pivoting's pretty fun. 3 and 4. Move up. 1 and 2 and 3. Switch fingers here. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and So also make sure those half notes get 2 triplet subdivisions each. Here's the side view for number 10, whirling. We're keeping our hands in position and just allowing the thumb to fold under. I'll do each of these hands separately so you can really see. Fingers 4 and 5 just resting if you can. They might tend to want to fly up in the air. So here we go, and it's going to be slight pivot. So we're going to start straight and then pivot. Thumb folds, but just a slight pivot. Don't do this. Don't go like that. Just a little bit of pivot on and pivot to a straight. Again, pivoting on finger 3. Thumb fold, and so forth. 2, 3, 2, 3. Exercise 11, going upstairs. This is probably the most straightforward piece in this whole chapter. I want to draw your attention to 2 things. A little bit of harmony here at the cadence or the resting point at the end. So we finish the last scale. And she adds a 1 chord, 4, 5, 7, 1. Again, close inversions of that. Earlier we had this close inversion. Now here we're starting with a first inversion G, C, 7th chord. Notice we're leaving the A out of that 7th chord. It's commonly played like this. We've got root, 3rd, 7th, and then back to G. So get used to how those close positions feel. I like to also play these. Notice she puts a little tenuto line, that little line on top. So I like to play those with a nice little roll up. So we've got the scales more at the tips of the fingers and then gentle roll ups here at the top. Roll, 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 slow, roll up. So the final thing I want to draw your attention to is take a look at how she notates the slurs. She has a lift right here after beat 1. What I like to work on with this piece is the dynamic. So I like to start this a little bit softer, crescendo to here, then lift and start this next one a little bit softer. You get this in music all the time. So I call it sneaking in. So if we start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, growing to there, then lift. Instead of lifting and then having a big accent as I go back down again, you sneak in, so then you can grow to the next beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and so forth. So this really has practical applications in the repertoire. You'll see this sort of thing all the time. So let's get started on low G, 3-octave G scale, lifting at every octave and sneaking in. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, lift, sneak in, re-crescendo. 1, roll up, roll up, roll up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then once you get more comfortable, then do it fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Goes really fast. When you play it more quickly, you don't get to lift as far up as I did in the slower example. You're just going to lift and scoot, no big accent on B2. Final exercise in this chapter, Fit as a Fiddle. I always love the Fit as a Fiddles. They're so cheery and fun to play. Again, this is filled with a lot of concepts. Like many of the pieces in this chapter, we're in the key of G with that F sharp key signature at the beginning. Again, she reinforces the primary chords, 1, 4, 5, 7, 1. So practice the chord changes separately. 1, 4, 1. Now the hand's going to rotate slightly at an angle to accommodate that F sharp. Right hand will do the opposite. So in addition to reinforcing the harmony, then we have scales. Make sure with these scales to both observe the fingering. So it's going to be across under 3, as we've practiced in many of these. When we're going to the 1 chord, we end on D, which is part of the 1 chord. When we go to the 4 chord, our last note is different. We're ending on a note that's part of that 4 chord. And then when we're in the 5-7 harmony, you're going to have to scoot up 1. And then same with the left hand. Scoot up 1. Finger switch at the end. So be aware of the last notes after the scale and where she marks the fingering. She marks it in for you nice and clear. Got to move up here. Got to move up here. Here's a little finger switch. Finally, take a look at the articulation in this piece. The hands are going to take turns holding whole notes while the other hand is doing stuff. So left hand holds a whole note, right hand plays a scale, right hand holds a whole note, left hand plays staccati. It's not too difficult to hold the left hand down while the right hand's playing the scale because they're both kind of smooth. But this one, holding this down while the left hand's playing staccati, sometimes your hand's going to want to go like this and pop off. So you got to consciously think, right hand down, left hand touch. And I like to do these staccati as touch staccatos. Touch, 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 hold. Let's do this all hands together. Let's strive for solid rhythm as well as a little bit of harmonic shaping. 1, 4, 1, 5, a little stronger, and then back to 1. Also, don't forget the finger switches and the holds of the whole notes. Touch, touch, touch. Different last note, left hand switches, back to 1. Touch, touch, right hand move, touch, touch, move fast. Left hand's louder with the scales. Left hand move up, finger switch. Thank you very much for watching this video. We covered the Dozen a Day Orange book, book 2, and this was chapter 2. Lots of very complicated concepts in this chapter. So my recommendation for you is just do 2 or 3 at a time. If it makes sense, like deep breathing, transpose into a different key. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I will be completing the Dozen a Day series. I also have a technique series of Boris Berlin's Essential Daily Exercises, which are a little bit more advanced, but they are fantastic. And plenty of videos on scales, chord progressions, as well as quick piano tips. And what the quick piano tips are, they're specific issues in the piano literature. There's so many great tutorials on how to play a certain piece. So I like to focus on one element. Maybe it's a tricky fingering, maybe it's a tricky rhythm. So look for those in the quick piano tips portion of my channel. And please write to me with questions or comments. Are there videos you'd like to see? Do you have questions about this or that exercise? I would like to know, and I would like to help you with your piano playing. So as always, thank you for watching.